All right, there we go. So, sorry I forgot to turn the camera on. So, sorry, but we're halfway through. That's okay. So, again, the problem here is that each one of these components is being drawn in the same place. We want to spread them out. The way we do this is reasonably similar to how we choose where to draw a rectangle or a circle. So, we have several methods to do this. Moving something physically in space uses the relocate method. You also get to set a preferred width and height for an object. So here's a question. Anybody have a guess why you can only set the preferred width and height and not the width and height absolutely?
Because it has to be G, so maybe because it has to be G?
No, not quite. So basically, this is what it'll do, right? Let's say you have a button, and you set the preferred width to like 40 pixels, right? If you put a large word inside of the button, like, for example, Constantinople, right? The length of the word exceeds what would have been the bounding box of the button. So what JavaFX will do is expand the width of the button to accommodate the larger word, even though you set the preference to something smaller. So you have a more limited degree of control over the width of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. So, you can also set the font that you want to use for these things. It's using fonts the same way that writing the text in, as we did previously with JavaFX, uses a font where you have to declare a new font object, right? But here's one for you. Methinks me sees CSS style attributes. Ish, yeah. So, set style allows you to set properties, visual properties of your buttons and components in a very similar way to how you set them for in HTML with CSS. Look up the tags, right? You guys, this will probably be the second time you've heard someone say this semester, but although they are roughly the same sets of properties, they will have different words to represent each of them, like the strings themselves vary, just like how, just enough to be annoying, exactly. Going from raw CSS to modifying CSS properties in JavaScript, it's like you have to camel case everything, basically, but sometimes it's a little more different than that, and you basically just have to look it up. Here it's more different, yet where everything has hyphens in it in odd places, so...
There are 3 versions of CSS?
Precisely! And everybody, like CSS is everybody's favorite.
Plus
right?
Bootstrap.
Yep. Question?
So in the set font method, what does the font system use?
Good question. So, new font is declaring a new font object. The font object must be passed to anything using that font. You don't have to declare it in line like this. You can declare it above and use it several times, right? System
Is a font.
Yeah, it's the system default font. all operating systems have a defined system default font, so it doesn't matter what, basically it doesn't matter which computer system this is executed on, it will display. Obviously the font sets will vary between operating systems, versions of operating systems. They'll be called different things sometimes, like, you know. Also, in theory, the system font has been, like, selected to fit the aesthetic of whatever operating system you're on. So it kind of, the same way that Bootstrap kind of is supposed to sort of match the aesthetic of the operating system it's on, that's the intended effect here as well. You know, on a Mac it'll look a bit more Mac-y, on a Windows it'll look a bit more Windows-y, on Linux it'll look better and superior, as all things on Linux do. And 20 is just the font size. Make sense? Good. So, configure the components. Let us set tf name.relocate to 1010. Button greet dot relocate to 1040. Label greeting dot relocate 1070. Save that. Run it. You can see that it looks basically not bad. You know, it's fine. In general, 30 pixels is like is a standard line spacing. 30, 35, you know.
What do you mean by that?
The Y delta here in each case is 30 pixels, right? Which means that
Oh, I see.
the distance between the top left corner of the text field and the top left corner of the button is 30 pixels, and that looks okay, so I recommend that as a spacing. If you want to make it a little bit bigger, that's up to you, you know. Basically, this is one of those cases which I'm sure you love. You all know and love this by now. You basically just have to run it and play with the numbers, and then run it again, fix the numbers a bit. Not everybody is, you know, so very experienced with these things that they can just like pick the number out of the blue and have it look okay. Keep in mind, this is like the 5th or 6th time I've taught this course, so I kind of know what looks good in terms of numbers just from sheer experience. But of course, none of you have that experience because you're students, and that's fine. It's okay to be a student. It's okay. But you do need practice, and that's what the course is for. All right. So you'll notice what I've done here. I have a text field and I have a button. The thing that we should do now is hook our button up so that it runs some code. We are going to enter into the deep waters of Java's event system, or the JavaFX event system. There's going to be one character that is new that I'm not going to explain. I'm going to just tell you to memorize it. Before we do that though, let's try set style. It would be good to see that on the board. button dot, or underscore greet dot set style dash fx dash background dash color Alice blue, which, as we all know, is the hello world of CSS colors. There you can see I've made the button almost invisible. Hooray! Let's make it regular blue, or yeah, regular blue. And what's the, let's see here. What, no, what's joining here? Yeah. FX, text, fill.
Can you zoom that a
White.
bit?
Better?
Thank you. Yeah, it's much better.
There you go. Again, I apologize, I can't zoom the actual output. If anybody needs to come up to the front to take a look, I will not think any less of you. I am actually literally almost blind without these myself, so I have a very strong prescription.
Oh, they don't look that bad.
Yeah. It's high index plastic. I have to get smaller glasses because if I got wider ones, the thing would be too wide and the glasses would be too heavy. So yeah. Anyway. So let's do an event. So events are methods, as you might expect. They return void. You get to call them whatever you want. And they take one argument, an action event object, E. You can call it whatever you want, but it has to be of that type. It contains some useful information, which we'll actually be discussing a little later in the course. One of the interesting pieces of information contained in that event object is the exact X and Y location of the mouse pointer when a click object occurs, or a click event occurs, and other interesting pieces of data like that you can use to make drawing systems and stuff like that. So, in addition to defining the method, you then have to connect the method to the FX object. You do that with a setOnAction method, which is defined in the start method. So, first, just to make sure things are working, let's write our method and just output something to console. So, public void do the thing action event. Again, you want the Java FX version. Wag his finger. There we go. And you did it. You click the button. Save. Now, lower down, adding event handlers and doing final setup. Am I missing a semicolon or something? Interesting. All right. Button underscore greet dot set on action, and then we specify this colon colon do the thing.
Action event E, the E is,
Whatever.
Yeah, it's just the name that you're giving to the argument. So
It's called an event.
when the action occurs, it will call this method and pass an action event object. That action event object contains some useful information that we're going to completely ignore for now and revisit at the end of the course.
And is this event only gonna happen on the click or
Yes.
So set on action will select the action intelligently based on what object you're attributing it to, right? Because this is a button, click is like the default action for a button. So this is how this is it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So any C++ programmers in the room? What's this guy? Yes. But do you know what it's called?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It has some different names, but I know it as the scope resolution operator from C++. So basically, this is a scope. We're looking in this scope for function name, do the thing. Right? You'll notice no round braces. Right? There are no round braces here. We are not invoking the function. We are referencing the function. This is how you do a function reference in Java. Make sense?
in JavaScript?
Well, in JavaScript, you just use the name, right? In Java, I guess you also have to resolve the scope as well as use the name. So, there you go. But yeah, it's not too distant from how they do it in JavaScript. JavaScript is not a functional language no matter what it claims. So, save it, run it.
can you scroll up for a sec?
Oh, it's actually split. The two different views.
Okay.
So this is the line I added, and this is the other line I added. Do you need to see something else?
Well, I just have an error on the, what is it, set on action, do the thing.
Oh,
My do the thing has the red squiggly line.
Yeah,
right
so
there.
is mine.
I can't figure out why. I don't think it's a mistyping. I even have a thing, action event is not convertible to action event.
oh, I know what you did. You did.
Yeah, that's the line.
You got off
I got the other one.
Hot dog.
All right. So, ta-da! You click the button. There we go. It works.
Clicked it so many times and I was like, oh, why is it not showing anything? Now I realize it's down there.
Precisely. So here's the thing, right? Similarly to in JavaScript, you now have like a proper output pane and you have a console available. So in JavaScript, what do you use the console for?
For troubleshooting?
Yes, you use it for debugging and it's information for the developer. When you want to output stuff to the user, do you do it in console?
No.
Not if you want to keep your job. That's right. So, the same distinction, the same roles apply here. This should be information for the developer. This should be information for the end user. This is nice and pretty and polished. This is what you need to get the job done. Make sense? Good. You should basically never ever ever do what you did for assignment 1 and run a console, run a console input scheme in order to draw something. You should get that via an interface like that and then display it, right, technically, but at that point in the course, what did we know? Hardly anything. We didn't even know what objects were. So, anyway. Well, we'll get there. So the point is that we want to do something useful here. We will be prevented from doing something useful by the way that we have currently configured this. If I ask for my text field or my label output, no autocomplete.
Well, out of school.
Yup, indeed. Cannot resolve symbol LB reading. So, can anybody tell me how it is that in start we have LB reading, but in this method up above we do not? What's the issue?
Start isn't static, so it's not happening before the object's made.
Not simpler than that.
No,
Yeah.
its scope is only for the start function.
Exactly. This has been declared as a local variable. It's local to start. It doesn't exist inside of our event handling method. You'd think that when it called the method, it would pass on any of the necessary scoping information, but that's Java. So, what we have to do, anything we want up there, we have to declare up here.
Or can we have the built-in method inside the start method?
Sorry?
Can we have the built-in method inside the start method?
Yes, I think you can actually, but don't.
What's the reason?
I think you might be able to declare methods locally instead of other methods, but that would screw up your scope resolution. You'd probably have to do this : start : do the thing. I don't know. This is the way that I've been taught to teach you, so this is the way we're doing it.
Fair enough.
So labels have a method setText, which allows you to set the text. Very good. Hello. Something. Have you been enjoying the sports lately? Question mark will be something derived from our text field. Now, obviously, we should just make all of these global, right? Or not global, you know what I mean. Instance variables of the class, as clumsy as that is to say. Java is just about as verbose to write as it is to teach. Text field, yeah. You notice when you do this, everything becomes purple and lovely. Button, read.
what's the meaning of question mark there?
I'm going to be replacing it with more code. So, string input is equal to text field underscore name dot get text. Then plug that in there. Sorry about the line of light.
I'm just in between.
Actually, I think I can do something about it. No. Mind if I- It's like caught on the chain.
Nope, not that
No,
one.
that's not that one.
I feel like it's this one.
Maybe. Yeah.
Just put your head directly into the light and see which one's giving the,
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not one. Hey, that fixed it.
Nope.
That's it.
Running out of options. It's the one. I don't know.
Get the staff going.
That's the one. Alright,
I mean, now there's less of them.
Yeah, it's better. It's
That is better.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's slowly.
Oh, you gotta stay up there for the rest of the time. Hold him back.
No.
It's slowly creeping down.
Does nobody breathe? Eh. Okay.
37 people dead. Java.
You just hear them blowing.
it's get text.
So, there we go. Now, if we enter something like Mork from Mork, say hello. There you have it.
I blew my mind to realize that was a spin-off of Happy
Which was a spin-off.
So, any questions? You have a question?
Can you just scroll it down before you?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I do know that.
This actually, the split screen is not as good as it seems. But, yeah. Is that good? Questions?
Whenever I run my thing, just load errors. I can hear something,
That show where you-
and then
those ones.
nuclear
To be
explosion.
fair, it's Robin Williams, so we can.
Yeah, I mean, that was Ron Williams with his cocaine fueled vest. He was amazing.
Just watch.
I mean, none of that.
I'm really excited about my life, making it all that back to school.
So just go into that and watch it. And then you can see it.
Wait, null pointer exception.
Ooh, that was working on that.
This dot TF name is now, oh. You gotta delete these. Probably misspelled, hopefully. So, all right. This is probably a common error that more than one of you are experiencing. In the start method, here, if you don't delete label, text field, and button, the typing information on front here, you are in fact still declaring them as local variables. tables, which means when you are invoking it up here, it's actually referring to the instance version, not the local version where you initialized it and stored it, so that thing's still null. So you actually get a null pointer exception, which is interesting. See, pointers do exist, contrary to the opinion of the government. Not even our government. That's the worst thing. I can't even vote the bums out. Ugh. Yes. Sure. So.
I don't think that's very good.
That's the job.
Yeah, but it's just so awesome. Fake news about it. Drop out of social media, not social media.
Required Java.language upstream. Provided Java.language upstream.
Because my working teachers were like, hey, LinkedIn, then I went to pay to start with more social media.
Throw that back down.
Yeah.
Maybe, so go back up, you had it, just click button, three things, change it almost work.
Yeah, now it's just, yeah, now it's just,
As much as you would want to be a part of it.
And something is desperately wrong in your imports.
But find above,
Is this in a project?
What's happened?
supposedly, let's see, if I get through.
I can't find print line either.
So,
You serious? Are you serious with this with me? Are we being serious right now? Okay. I don't think so.
I actually got my factory director.
oh no, that's just, I changed the file. Or you, so yours is the line, you're going to your file there. Then you have, that's right. That doesn't matter. No public void thing.
Oh. Set it on fire. You might have to reinstall.
Oh,
This said
I think that's pretty much approaching the whole thing.
burn it.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll know this enough of this for assignment 5 before Wednesday? Because the assignment 5 is due Wednesday.
I'll have to give you guys a couple of extra days, actually.
Yeah, have enough days and enough knowledge.
Yeah. So I hate doing it,
I know you do.
but it's just.
You know, the other sections are still at assignment 3. They were like, oh,
Really?
we have separate assignments. We are doing the robots
They
one.
also
And I was
skipped
like,
4.
that was due before.
What do you mean they
me."
skipped 4?
They're working on 5. Apparently, some of the classes skipped assignment 4.
Who are the professors?
For my friend, he has Dave professor, and they're still at assignment 3.
He likes to do stuff.
Still.
Okay. Oh, if it's out of order, that's one thing. But if it's actually skipping assignments, that's actually like.
No, they're going to go back to 4. They're doing 5, then 4.
He's done that before in a class.
I am under a professional obligation not to comment on my colleagues at college or their conduct or how I think they should be running.
You won't tell.
I.e. imports.
So I got some reviews extra for assignment 5.
Oh,
I know.
yes.
Like, I already submitted assignment 3, and then my friend's like, oh, I'm working on my Olympics thing. Like, wasn't that due like 2 weeks ago?
Always.
I was like, okay, have you done your assignment 4?
No, I think they're.
I said, oh, you know what? Oh, you have the same assignment. You have the now. You don't know
This guy's the president of the Federal.
The only thing good about this is the.
Oh, our assignment 4 is due tomorrow, and the book one is due on Wednesday.
I wasn't sure.
So what I did, right back here, Ryan,
I guess the line.
that sets it to be the one to run the program. Then you get that.
They won't.
You just like, I just wanted to get those running because I
Come on,
used to
man.
myself into the dungeon.
The George Lucas, it's 1, 2, and 3s are bad enough, but the Disney 7, 8, 9
Yeah.
are.
But, no, you do.
They're never gonna do anything cool.
I agree.
They're better than 7, 8, 9. They're trash
The only
compared to 4,
good thing
5,
that
and
came from
6.
the sequel trilogy that made specifically.
The whole premise is like.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
So-
It's funny the age difference. I grew up with 1, 2, 3 coming out.
Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, I still haven't even seen it.
So we've got events working,
I've seen bits and
right?
pieces of what happens in it. I haven't seen it.
I understand the necessity to nerd out. I feel it myself, but
Come join us.
no, I'm sorry. Maybe after that. So
Resistance is futile.
that's a different franchise. So let's see what we have here. So this is actually normally the point in the class where I would say, okay, let's work on a big example. The big example that I normally ask people to work on is like, do a simple calculator, which, you know, although you might be a little, you know, done that so many times, so many calculators have I made using buttons and these sorts of things. I still think it's a useful and valuable exercise, particularly if you want to like actually simulate how a calculator works. But basically we have 10 minutes left in class and we don't have time to get into a big topic, like a big example like that. And also, we're basically feature complete here, like for up to this point, so I don't know. I'm basically like trying to make up a bunch of justifications to dismiss class. Does anybody object if we, wait, no, I can't just ask it like that.
Motion.
Yeah, we have to do a motion. Oh, okay, one thing. One important note before we vote on whether class is over or not. So when you're reading things from a text field, what is the data type? It is always string, even if you think you're expecting an integer. So, if you are expecting an integer, you must parse the integer from the string before using it, right? This should be familiar to you all by now from your, your brief sojourn in the land of JavaScript, where things are strings except when they're not. Question?
And should we check whether they put it in here before passing it?
Yeah, it would be useful, because that will raise an exception, right? And I could just show you how to do a try-catch. You want to see a try-catch? All right, we're going to jump ahead a little bit. I'm going to show you something cool, all right? So, a try-catch is exception handling. Yeah, I know.
Is try exception different? Or is this a bad?
What?
Try exception.
No, it's try-catch. Those are the keywords. But it requires, it produces a reference to an exception object where the error message is contained.
Okay.
So, if you want to convert something to an integer and not bark up the whole program and crash it, if it's not an integer, int input is equal to integer dot parse int tf dot name or tf name dot get text. There we go. If you put this bit inside, I think you have to declare it up here. Int input. There we go. block level scoping. Oh wait, is input already used? Yes, it is. Q is used. ARG!
Input Q.
ARG. There we go. So, very, very quick. Java really likes its exception handling system, and it expects everybody who programs in Java to know how to use it. So here's the quick and dirty way to use it. If you're writing something that may produce an exception, you put it inside the try block. If during its execution an exception occurs, the catch block is immediately executed. Any remaining part of the try block is skipped. So, and it won't crash the program. So, S out, that, oh,
I hate that, I was just automatic.
that was an integer, son. And then otherwise, that was not an integer, ma wee bonnie lass. Which is Scottish for the opposite of son.
And is it gonna run the exception, if there is any kind of error, or?
So you select which types of exceptions it catches by specifying here. In Java, everything is an object, including exceptions. So if you say, for example, zero division exception, it'll only catch zero division exceptions. But because we have specified just exception, it will catch all things inheriting from exception, including exception itself. So all exception types inherit from exception. So if you specify exception here, it'll catch all of them. Make sense?
And what is it do?
Oh, that's just a name that we give to the exception object. That thing contains your actual error message.
It's going to go like that, every row has that.
For example, Q dot get message will be the error message, right? Including that big stack trace that it does every time you get an exception in Java. You know how when you get an exception in Java, it gives you like literally 100 red lines?
Yes,
And how that's like,
every exception on that.
you want to know what that is?
Trace?
It's a stack trace. Yeah, so basically, that's the number of currently open functions. The exception crashes through each of them until it finds something that handles itself. And each function that it smashes through, it generates that error message about that one and the line on which it occurred, and that's what that is. So really, you only have to pay attention to like the top one most of the time. Unless you are a developer of Java, the language, like you work on the compiler. That's another problem, perhaps, with Java, is that most of that output is useless to anybody who isn't, like, literally programming the Java JVM. But anyway. So, if we run this. All right, so pay attention to the console down here. If I enter something that is a number, 456, that was an integer son. If I enter something that was not, like Java, that was not an integer Maui Bonnie Lass.
Where does that come from?
That's what the message
That's
is.
what the exception
Yeah,
is?
like, you can also get stack trace if you want. Oh. Okay, so you can't just print it, so stack trace dot,
Can you choose
Whatever.
stack trace?
I don't know. This is uncharted waters
It's
for me.
objects, right? So it's
Yeah.
object. Q dot array.
It's just, it's an array, so could
Oh.
you not just use a for loop?
Oh, it's an array? Okay, yeah, just
Why
use
don't
it
you
for
choose Q dot array?
for each. That's how you do it in JavaScript, eh? Yeah, it's whatever. Stack trace. The element, top element of stack trace, please. Bing, bang, boom. There you go. Top element of stack trace, which tells you it's a number format exception. Boom. Yeah, so
I think I like that.
there you go. That's just a small amount of exception handling. I'm not expecting anybody to like use this in assignments until we like discuss the actual unit on it, but considering there was interest in the class and you really do need to know this stuff to consider yourself a Java developer, I thought I'd take a few minutes and show that to you guys. So, yes.
Do we do the order thing now? Class
Yes,
order?
true. Yes. I need a motion to dismiss. Forwarded. Any seconders? Seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next week. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Because we have certainly not covered the entirety of this unit, I'm definitely going to give you guys an extension on the assignment 5, which is relevant to this stuff by a couple of
Assignment
days.
4 is due today, yeah?
Yeah.
Friday.
Tomorrow, Saturday, bro. We still got a day.
It's 2 more days.
Whatever I wrote in the calendar, that's what applies.
It's the 3rd.
Yeah.
The 3rd? Oh, that's wonderful.
Pretty sure it's the 3rd. Like 99%.
I think you
Yeah, I
want
trust you.
to stop recording.
All right. Oh, yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna ask you now.
No, I can give you the half mark. It's only fair.
I'm pretty sure I spotted a spot where